Okay, last one of our orientation videos. And this one is just going to be about this term paper. So when we're on the class materials page, right underneath the course orientation, there is these instructions for the term paper, and we'll look at those in a moment. I just want to point out that as we scroll down through this, and they're already available for you to see, you also have drop boxes, and that is where you're going to submit work. And so the first work for your term paper that you have due is a works cited page due at the end of March. That doesn't mean you should wait till the end of March to start this work. You should start this work soon. I will also give you an opportunity in a couple of weeks just to tell me what topic you're working on. And I'll probably just put that inside one of the modules. So you're sure to see it. So that, but you should feel free to reach out to me to talk about that before then if you want. So the works cited page, the term paper outline is due mid-April, and then your term paper itself, there it is due on May 2nd, so at the end of the semester. And so whenever you're submitting something to a Dropbox, and this is true for the term paper, it's also true for the work for your small groups, then you need to make sure you're submitting either a Microsoft Word document, a docx file, or a PDF file. I cannot read or comment on other file types in Blackboard, so it has to be one of those two file types. And all of you have Office 365 available to you through the college, so everybody has access to Word. You don't need to own it. So let's take a look at the term paper instructions. And again, I'll open the file separately here. And so, 200 points for the term paper itself, plus an additional, an additional 50 points for foundational work that we're going to talk about in a second. So the main point of the term paper is that you are going to pick a specific DSM-5 disorder. We're going to talk a lot about the DSM-5. You'll be familiar with it. It's also all of the disorders your textbook discusses. And so you're going to pick a specific disorder, not a category of disorders. So not mood disorders, not anxiety disorders, but maybe major depression or bipolar disorder or panic disorder or generalized anxiety disorder. So a very specific disorder. And I talk about this a lot. Students, most of your history as a student is writing to your professor. And so your audience is always somebody who knows more about the topic than you do, which isn't great because it doesn't pull for you to be expert. And so what I want you to do when you're writing this paper is to imagine. You don't need to do anything more with this. You don't need to create a family, but I want you to imagine a hypothetical family that you're providing information to. They have a family member that was recently diagnosed with the disorder that you're looking at. And so you're writing the paper as the expert to give good information to people who know much less than you do about it and yet want to know a lot. Okay, so you don't need to do anything about that hypothetical family. You don't need to create a biography for them. You just need to imagine that that's who you're writing to. And so the main body of the paper is going to focus on academic research about your topic. And so you are going to have to find peer-reviewed articles, so 8 academic sources. My strong suggestion is that all 8 of those sources are peer-reviewed articles. But you can, you are allowed for 2 of those, or 2 of the 8. You could use an academic book, or you could use a set of academic websites. But the important thing to keep in mind here is when I say academic, I mean something that is written for a professional in the field. So essentially something that is written for me or someone like me as the audience. And so that's not a textbook. That is not a self-help book. That is not a book you're going to find in Barnes & Noble. That's not a book you're going to mostly find in your public library. So if you're going to want to do something besides 8 peer-reviewed articles, if you want 1 or 2 of those to be a book you have found or a website you have found, please run that by me. Most of the time when students find books or websites, it turns out they are not academic books. So the National Institute of Mental Health has lots of web pages on depression. Most of them are not meant for me. Some of them are, but most of them are meant for the average consumer, and that is not an academic source. Okay. So you need 8 academic sources, and you're going to use those sources to answer this set of questions that you see in front of you in these 3 bullets. So what does the research tell you about the likely cause or causes of the disorder? We're going to talk a lot this semester about the word etiology, which refers to causes. And so this is your etiology section or your cause section. What does the research tell you about the best treatment options? And you should try to include here both medication-based treatment and non-medication-based treatment if that's relevant to your disorder, and it is relevant to most disorders. And then what is the prognosis? What is the expected outcome? What is life likely to be like for this person? And also what is life likely to be like for the family of this person? What's the family experience likely to be? Right, so 3 main sections that you're speaking to with your research. There's a final section that relies on you comparing what you have found through your academic research to what the average family would find if they were Googling this, which is how most people find their information, right? And so here you just need to find 4 websites. So it says here magazines, newspapers, and that's okay, but really just Google 4 websites. And these are exclusively for comparison. You cannot use these non-academic sources in the main body of the paper. They're just for this final section where you're going to talk about how these 4 sources you found compare. And the easiest way to find these 4 sources is to do what a family member would do. Google it, look at the returns on the first page from Google and pick 4 of them. It doesn't matter which 4 you pick. You're just going to kind of be comparing up what does the average person find out about this disorder versus what your academic research shows you. All right. I am not counting pages. Students always want to know how long things should be. I'm guessing for most of you 5 to 8 pages. I can't imagine this being fewer than 5 pages and doing its job. I also don't think it needs to be more than 8 pages to do its job. Some of you will write more, and that's fine. I will not stop reading. You will not be penalized as long, if the writing is redundant, if it isn't, if you're just talking in circles, that will affect your grade. But 10 great pages, 12 great pages is not, you will be penalized for going above my guidelines here. These are guidelines. They're not requirements. I don't know that I've ever read a term paper in response to this assignment that was fewer than 5 pages that did its job. So just keep that in mind. And so you're going to organize in the sections that we talked about, explanation of causes, treatment recommendations, prognosis and family experience, and then those popular publication comparisons. You do need to use APA style. There is a 7th edition that has recently come out. And the main difference for you guys is that students are no longer required to use running heads. They're listed here. If you want to use them, be my guest, just do it correctly. But students aren't required to anymore. So cover sheet, section headings, and let me say this about section headings. APA style needs them. So in this case, you'd have 4 section headings. If you want subheadings within that, like for treatment recommendations, medication, and non-medication, that's fine. You don't need to. But section headings are required by APA style in APA format. But also section headings are really important for writing. Section headings help you stay organized, and so that you are talking about this topic at this point because you've already given it a heading and you know this is where you are. It also gives directions for your reader. It tells your reader that you're about to transition to a new topic and makes your paper much more readable. So it's a good habit to get into aside from APA style. And then you'll have an APA style works cited page, and you'll use APA style in-text citations throughout. And we'll talk more about APA style as we go along. I'll give you resources. That's not your kind of where your thinking needs to be right now. Do not, when you write this paper, engage in quoting. That good academic writing is about you explaining what information you have read and digested. A paper that is just a series of quotes with information tells me you don't really understand the information. You just know it's important and you're conveying it. But that's not the same as you being able to explain something to me. So I would say that your best bet is to have 0 quotes in your paper. I can't imagine a paper that needs more than 1 quote. So have that in mind. And so the works cited page for my review is due on March 28th, and you need an outline of your entire paper by April 18th. Those are each worth 25 points. They are my kindness to you. I am saving you from yourself. It requires you to do work well ahead of your May 2nd deadline, which is going to make your life better and your paper better. It also allows me to, if you've gone off track in some way, it allows me to correct that where very few points are in play, so that you wind up with a term paper that earns all of its points, or as many points as it possibly can. So see those as a kindness to you. We will the week of April 12th, and so you see this noted here. It'll also show up as we get closer on that class materials page. The week of April 12th, you do have an exam that week. And it is the week before your outline is due. You will not have any chapter material due that week. So we're not covering a chapter that week of the semester. I will have meeting times that I'll send out to you that you can sign up for individual online meetings to talk about your term paper if you want. Those won't be required. You don't need it. If it's not helpful to you, you won't need to do that. You can just focus on writing that week. But I will have times available, and you'll be able to meet with me if you want. And then that'll be the week leading up to when your outline is due. So hopefully that'll give you some extra support if you need it. At the very least, taking a break then while you have an exam and have your outline due will give you a little bit more time to work on that stuff. And then right here is the rubric. And so this is the rubric I will use. You'll get this rubric back from me with your grade, with the term paper. So using appropriate academic sources, so those 8 sources, the cover sheet and headings, reference list, and text citations. And then each of these sections is worth 35 points. And that's based on the accuracy and clarity of the information you give me and of your writing. And then 25 points each for those foundational pieces. So obviously, if you have questions, you should reach out to me and ask them. The one thing that I didn't point out before, but I will now, in each of the folders, the chapter folders, there is this link to practical questions at the bottom. And practical questions are non-content related questions. So if you want to ask me about research methods, then that's going to go in the research methods muddiest point, right? But if you want to ask me about something to do with the term paper, or about due dates, or about exams, those kind of practical course business things, put that in that. Always use the practical questions. You'll always have access to it in the current folder wherever we are. And that's a great place to ask practical questions. You guys should feel free to answer each other's practical questions if you want as well, but I will be on every day and always looking to see if there are questions that I need to answer. Okay. All right. So hopefully that kind of sets you up. And we'll, we will see each other in the discussions, and then on Monday, we will start talking about abnormal psychology. All right. You guys have a good day.